call this planning board meeting of November 13th, 2019 to order. We have a quorum. We have Sarah, Jim, John, Barbara, and myself, and with Max and Susan. Any adjustments to the agenda? There be none. Citizen comments? Alex?
None this evening.
Okay. Okay. Minutes. Board minutes from October 23rd. Has everyone had a chance to review these?
They look good to me.
Well, if Susan did her homework,
Yes.
I had a lot of help.
write the cause
That's why I
notes
always.
I love that.
times on a
That is-
chalkboard.
That is not something you had to put in there, but inserting a little humor.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as written.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any further questions or comments, additions, modifications, deletions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay. New business, revised amendment to telecommunications tower. Max, could you have anything to, want to summarize this for us? That would help.
So,
You didn't happen to summarize, print out your summary, did you, Max?
I think I have a copy of it.
That's all right.
It might be, yeah. But pretty much what the summary is that, and there's a letter from Jack Andrews in the packets that you should have in front of you. The highlighted, unfortunately, blackened out highlighted remarks. Literally the day after he came to the planning board and we tabled it, he called up AT&T and mentioned all this, and they themselves were actually going to reduce it down to 199 feet to stay below that 200-foot height limit that we are all talking about. There is currently no light, to anyone's knowledge, that on that tower. And the plans in front of you show that it's been amended so that it will be at 199 feet.
If they decide to put a light on it at some future time, do they have to come to us? Or you?
I do not believe they do, because that's more federal rule than local. But I can confirm that with Bill. But I think it would be similar to what we're doing right now, where it's more of a formality rather than a.
Sure, but a lighting issue as an annoyance issue.
I'm not saying it.
We're not saying it's right. I know you're not trying to, you're not
I don't want to be
legal
bogged.
representative for the defense here. I'm just,
Right. I don't want to be too bogged down in the
yes.
possible future.
I think the reason they dropped it from 201 to 199 is the expense in putting up lights and then maintaining them is pretty high.
Yeah.
So I'd say the likelihood of them doing it for chuckles
Yeah.
is pretty low. And then
Yep.
the only thing that would cause them to do it is another antenna. So it's something breaking 200 feet, and that we would get involved in next, right?
Yeah.
So we should be involved if something's gonna happen to require it,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
And I can call up Jack Andrews when we are ready if we have anything else we want to discuss with him.
So the only question I have is, I thought with the new improved site plan, we would have this information. I know that the tower from its base to the top is 199 feet. It says it so in the elevation. But that site is sloping. So they take an average over the course of this pad or the overall site in order to determine what's 199 feet up from
Well, if there's a
They don't
pad,
measure
the
it.
pad, it's
Yeah.
highly unlikely that the
Pad's
pad
level.
is sloped.
No, I know, so you
Yeah.
put a pad in a sloping site,
Yep.
and you decide to call that 0 when you're supposed to take the average of the grade, so I'm just kind of curious how this all works.
Right, because you wouldn't want it to be 200 feet above the pad, because they could make the pad tall, but it does say grade. So it would have to be the average grade over that.
Well, that's how you determine
Space,
heights
yeah.
of buildings and
Right.
stuff, is for the
Yes.
average grade,
Mhm.
so,
Yep.
you know, it's already it's already there, they already have the 10% rule anyway, so it's not like it's gonna make any difference, but if we were starting from scratch, I sure would like to know really what elevations we're working
Yeah.
with.
Well, it says they're measuring it from average grade. It says AGL.
What's that?
It says
H-
zero AGL.
What page are you
Average grade
referring to?
A2.
Yeah. Average
Yeah, the
grade.
one that
I was
shows
just
the,
thinking,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, that says 0 inches plus or minus AGL,
Average grade.
which I assume is average grade.
Yeah.
And the other item that I printed out was just a map of the site, just to show how far it is from the road.
Yes, that was helpful.
I assume 300 feet from the road is more than enough.
Oh,
Or-
yeah. Well, it was just something that I think that they should,
Oh, yes.
should include as a matter of course.
I think the question we had at the time was whether or not it was in a right-of-way. And this shows it's clearly
Mm-hmm.
well off the right-of-way.
Mm-hmm. So,
but it just still doesn't answer the question to my mind, is it the average grade level in the building site or the overall property, just for future? I mean, this is a pretty big lot, right, Max?
Yeah.
How much acreage is that?
How many acres on that one lot?
I mean,
Um,
it must be 400, it must be 2 to 4 acres?
Usually it's actually answered in the site.
Anyway, it's just a
Right.
general question that we can answer at another time. Like,
yeah, if it
what
was
do
a
you-
new application, I think it would
Right.
be. But it would certainly not be best practices if it wasn't grade level over the size expanse of the pad and not the whole lot. That wouldn't be acceptable way to calculate it.
Well, I think what I'm asking is, what do our ordinances say about that?
For just how
So
high?
it's the construction of the pad and the fencing, it's that, 30 by 30 thing that we
Right.
measure, the up hillside and the down, to get the grade, get the average grade. Doesn't matter, we can do it another time.
Yeah, I think,
Look it up at
I'm
another
just
class.
looking for the section that I'm looking for. Hold on.
If you want, I can pull it up.
Sure. Well,
I'm sure it's gonna say, recall it
Can you look in the book, in our special
in the
book?
ordinance, in the,
So you're-
where it
So you're asking for the
specifies
height
limit for the.
from,
Would that be specific performance standards, or is that?
Yeah.
Or it could be a definition perhaps. Height of a structure, vertical distance between the mean original prior to construction. And grade at the downhill side of the structure and the highest point of the structure, excluding chimneys, steeples, antennae, and similar appurtenances which have no floor area.
and what page are you reading from?
16-2 of the specific,
In definitions?
yeah, actually it was, sorry, it was in definitions, right.
Antenna height. vertical distance measured from the base of the antenna structure to the highest point of the structure. Is that what you were reading?
Yep.
So the base of the antenna structure would be the top of the foundation.
Yeah, there's no, in the performance standards, there's no additional info
No.
to that, just gives the limit at 195.
I can just put Jack Andrews on the line. If he knows, he can answer.
It doesn't, it's not relevant to the application, because we're within, he's well
Right,
within
but
his.
if we get any new ones, it'll be useful to understand how that's calculated. Okay. Well, we discussed this fairly thoroughly last time. Our two questions were
Relating to the light.
both related to lighting and the final height of the tower, which have been resolved by this modification to bring it down to 199 feet, which, as we understand the regulation, we are required to approve, despite it being 4 feet, but it's now less above our height limit of 195, so it's 4 feet higher. There's no lighting issue. I don't know, are there any questions that any board member would have for the applicant before we decide on this application as modified? Again, it would be with the stipulation that all other regulatory
Right. State, federal are being met.
are being followed, so.
And that we're accepting the amendment where it's 199 feet.
So could-
What was the stipulation, Mr. Chairman?
that, so let me try to phrase this then. That I would like to entertain a motion to approve this application as modified with the intermediate information we received recently, that the height is now 199 feet, which, because it's below the 200-foot limit, will not require lighting, with the conditional upon meeting all other federal and state regulations for said tower. Could I have such a motion?
So moved. I'm not gonna repeat it, but so moved.
I know, I was gonna say, you could repeat that.
I didn't, when I started, I didn't mean it to be that wordy, but once I got going,
Just a,
is there a second?
I second it.
Are there any other questions or comments on this motion? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Why
Well,
don't we keep
that-
Osprey off these things? Are
Uh,
Osprey interested?
I'm not sure that they do. Well, they're very pointy at the top with all the,
There's all this stuff
yeah,
going on
that's
there.
true. Yeah, well, that was, I'm glad that resolved that way.
in and out.
Alex is leaving.
Yes,
This is where it's gonna get interesting.
thank you. Thanks for coming. Take care. I confess to be a little concerned that as a private citizen, that I just wonder how the regulation requiring local approval is affecting the amount of effort and detail that the companies are now putting into planning their tower changes. Because they're not worried about any local ordinances. I don't know.
Because they have that
Un-
economic
un-
development.
Well,
Right.
yeah, unintended, most
Sure.
things have unintended consequences, and I
Right.
just wonder that,
Well, it even seemed like they weren't quite, like he wasn't quite on the right page for the last application, like there was
Yes.
still stuff going on with the
yeah,
planning,
yeah,
so.
yeah.
You
So,
wonder.
and we were under time limit for approving them. We had a 60-day window from when they started to approve it, and they hadn't had all their, they
Documents
didn't
ready.
have the whole thing all really figured out, so.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much of an impact this now has, but if we deem it incomplete, then this shot clock is stopped until they.
Oh,
give
sure,
us-
yeah.
So,
yeah.
this document, for example, and that's why I wanted to have the meeting as, the makeup meeting, because not only we didn't have the quorum back then,
Mhm.
but also, had we waited until this meeting to do it, we would have waited, that would have been more than 30 days, and then I think now not knowing the information we did, now the information would have come out that, you know, it's beyond 200 and we had all these concerns. And we could probably then put the stop right there, but then once I get the document, maybe a week later, it starts up again. And if we
Mhm.
don't meet in our usual time in December, it would have automatically been approved.
Automatically?
If we do not, if I receive a complete application, when I receive a completed application, what they consider to complete, we have 60 days to review it and or approve it. If we deem it incomplete, that timer stops. But if whoever's the approving authority just doesn't say anything for 60 days, it just gets approved.
De facto approved, yep.
Wow, so.
I think it was actually.
That's the way the ordinance, that's the way the
Right,
law
the-
is written.
yeah,
but then
the
the
act-
problem, so if we vote no, then it's a court case, they would sue
We need
us?
to- I think
What
have
if we said no?
I think we have to have a reason.
We have to
Yeah.
have a reason,
And then
yeah.
it's-
Yeah.
This was what I received from MMA.
Yeah, I remember that.
Including completeness review of an applicant. Yeah. Including completeness review of an application must be finished within 60 days unless the applicant and municipality agree to an extension or the municipality informs the applicant that the application is incomplete within 30 days of submittal. So,
So that could come from anyone in the office. It could come from the town the town manager or the CEO, just some sort of official notice. It's not up to you, Max, if you,
right. But
or, I'm just thinking if something happens to somebody.
But
it must
since
be-
you are the authority that would have approved this case, you are the ones who should be giving that
Right.
distinction. And that's why, again, I wanted to have,
I'm just thinking if you and Scott get kidnapped at the same time.
oh dear.
For a big case.
So, and then, I'm sorry,
But
here's the
somebody
thing.
from a municipality can respond in some official way to an application.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's
And
not all up to.
it just finishes, if an application is not approved within the 60-day period, it is deemed granted, but the applicant must notify the municipality that this has occurred. So,
Yeah, we haven't heard from you, so we're going ahead. Thank you very much. Yep. Time's up.
Have a nice day.
Yeah. But Scott, I think to your point, I think we caught them.
Yeah.
And they came back so quickly, they realized that they all thought it was somebody else's job. Right, it's not my tower, it's just my equipment.
Right.
And I'm just a subcontractor doing the engineering, and if it needs lights, the owner's gonna put them up, and the owner said, nope, or you're gonna pay for them because you're the one that broke the window. Oh, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Let's drop the elevation. I
Well, and they
almost
were able
guarantee you
to,
that's
they
what
were
happened.
able to do that. I mean, it's only 6 feet, but they were able to get another 6 feet out of it, or 7 feet, right? Because it was 206 before, or something like that. Yeah,
it's
whatever.
buried under here.
Yeah, it's here.
204, I thought,
Yeah,
anyway.
204, yeah.
Yeah,
So they
dropped
get
it 5
another
feet.
5 feet off of it through
It works just
the
fine.
magic of technology.
No, it won't
Yeah.
reach Monhegan.
All right, so,
So that's all I had for the agenda.
okay, do we have any,
I mean, I want to just quickly say that last meeting was very different. It was in the fire department. I'm saying this because of the recording right now.
yes?
So the fire department conference room is where we held the meeting, and I
Mhm.
tried to have an audio recording because I couldn't get an actual recording.
Ah, okay,
Unfortunately, my phone cut out when we were going to
Talking?
have a call with Jack Andrews.
oh,
So the recording I have does have our approval for American Unagi's
Yep.
extension.
Yep,
But if anyone's curious why you don't see that online, or why you don't see any of that, is because I have an incomplete recording, pretty
Okay.
much. But I encourage anyone who's curious what happened at the meeting to review Susan's minutes, because it was still very well done. Got all the details I thought.
yes, thank you, Susan. Great. Any other things we should be talking about or thinking about?
Taking December off? Oh,
Well, what's gonna,
I can't.
do we have an idea of what's gonna be on the
Yes.
December agenda?
We will have the
yes.
East Ridge
Yes.
Mobile Home Park.
Okay.
Yep, that will be coming. Possibly the Ice Pond subdivision that we briefly talked about.
Okay,
Possibly. I don't believe I have anything else for December, but I think that's it.
okay.
So we had talked about for the ice pond, perhaps having a community meeting, a focused one. Would that be before or after the application?
That would actually be more during the actual application process itself. Like, when we do hold the if the person who is going to do subdivision wants to do that on his own, that's perfectly fine. That's what Tim Wells did with his thing for 80 Gray.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But as far as the planning board's involvement is, I'm gonna send out the notices as I usually do. I think last time you said it should be sent to everyone on that neighborhood,
Mhm.
in that neighborhood,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which I'll do.
Okay.
But the public hearing is more for when it comes to this.
You mean next week would be a pre-application for the ice pond?
We've already sort of, I mean, we kind of did a pre-application
Yeah.
with the map last month,
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to figure out.
So is the
No.
next one an application?
an application, yes.
Okay.
The full,
Then it's a full application.
the full thing, yeah.
But may or may not be December, if not.
Right.
thinking
I
of
haven't
now.
heard anything since, I think, a week ago when I brought this up to him.
Okay,
I know that a lot of that community is seasonal, so I guess that the
Hmm.
requests go out to the
They can still write
mailing
in a letter.
addresses that.
Yeah,
the
they can
roads
write
have.
it in a letter, they can call my office.
Yep.
It's-
I was just making sure we're sending it to the right
Yep.
address as
Right.
much
Yeah,
as.
true.
Yep,
Yep.
I always,
What do you do about that? Do you write it to 2 addresses, or do you?
I send it to wherever we send the tax bills. Because residents sees a tax bill from the town, sees a official letterhead from the town, they're like, oh darn, it's that time, isn't it? Usually how it works.
Okay.
anything else that we should discuss? Any board member comments or anything to bring up?
Only other thing I'm gonna do as soon as we adjourn is maybe you and I can take a quick look at the maps, because I haven't had a chance to go on.
Yeah, of course.
Online, and we'll see what the lot size is in that whole.
For the ice pond?
For the ice pond.
Mm.
Yep.
It'd be interesting since we're here.
Yeah,
Yeah, if planning board members want to do that afterwards, I'm gonna have to make a new sheet for, saying that you approved what they did today, what
Okay.
the, AT&T's gonna do. So I'll ask you all to stick around and we'll just clear out so the fire department takes the room. For anyone watching the recording, the reason this is all set up is because the fire department's gonna be doing a presentation here in a minute, so.
So do
okay.
you want us to sign something?
He's
Yes,
gonna-
but we
he
can
has
do
to
that
go
after the
reprint it.
meeting. I messed up what I was gonna do.
Okay.
After what?
So you want us to get out of the room, so the fire department can come in, we'll hang around
Right, but
outside there?
I told them 6:30, so we got a few minutes.
Okay, but, well, we're gonna have to clean up our stuff too, and so we'll meet you out there and
Right.
do the signing and then,
And
Okay.
Sarah had a question?
No.
I have a question. The next meeting is Wednesday, the 11th. There is no second meeting in December? Is the
Correct.
fourth-
It's
the
just-
fourth
it's just the one
Wednesday is
meeting.
Christmas. Okay.
Oh, but that will also remind me, because for Johnny and Jim, I don't think, because you two are new to this, so for the winter months, in the event that the town office is closed or we're gonna have a storm more at night,
Mhm.
I will be calling to cancel meetings, and I'll make sure to call you as well as the applicant. If you do have questions, feel free to email me at any point in the day. If you don't hear from me, I usually respond and tell everyone by either noon or about 3 o'clock, just to say whether a meeting is still going on or not.
But otherwise, if school is canceled, we're canceled.
I usually go by if the town office is closed,
Ah, okay.
then we are canceled.
Okay.
And whenever that happens, the question is, do we wait until the next month, or do we schedule one 2 weeks later?
Mhm.
But I'm just telling you that because we usually have that once a year.
Yeah.
Can you recycle this in your office?
Yep.
This is not one I'm likely to keep.
I have a shredder at home just for this reason.
Great.
So are there any other questions?
Anything else?
Nope.
Motion to adjourn?
There you go. My excavator shut it off.
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a
Second.
second? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you.